Hey, this is Russell, and I work at the video store, the place that you can go to once a week whenever it is movie night. I love this job. I get to talk about movies and series with my friends when the store is quiet, and then interesting people pop in to rent something. We can help you figure out what you can be watching on streaming platforms and out in cinemas. All right, let's do it. Let's open up the shop.
Did you see that thing yesterday on the TV? It was ready, interesting!
Good morning.
Morning, Russell.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
All right, dude. How are you?
Very good after yesterday.
We're going to talk about it. Okay, we got Cole here today.
Hi.
And we got Graham.
Howdy ho.
And hello to you. Hello to listeners all across the world. It's very exciting. It is happening across the world. I'm seeing the metrics. It's very exciting.
Nice.
Welcome to the video store. Today on the show, we got Fhatuwani coming in to rent something. He is an incredible visual artist. I know him as someone who is got a studio at 44 Stanley. So here at the Bioscope, I often see him in passing. And he's one of these guys where you don't ever sort of meet properly, but then you just always say hi to each other. And that's because he's a nice person.
Right. Nice.
And
That's
you really
great.
get to know him. And then you discover that he's this incredible artist who's getting incredible attention. And he's not just anyone. Like you might not get it from any kind of chat with him because he's like kind of humble, but like his works are selling for like over 100,000 rand.
Yo.
Like
Go him.
He is doing so well.
Nice.
And I could
yeah.
not be prouder. And of course, there's often visual artists do other things. So we'll hopefully get into it into the chat. But he directs stuff. So there's a great mind. And I think what's also very interesting, especially in South Africa, is where these folks could come from.
Yeah.
And so going into his childhood, I think, is very cool and important. So for all those who tune in every week, you're really in for a treat because it's a very fascinating life. Very interesting start and lovely to see where he is now. And then for all of those who are followers of Fhatuwani, I hope that you get a bit more about him. Obviously, we have these chats flavored by film and TV, and we use that as a way to guide. So hopefully we unlock some things about him that you perhaps didn't know. And then please, after the guest chat, stick around where myself, Cole and Graham are going to talk about the movies that we've been watching, TV shows that we're watching. And I think especially for someone like Fhatuwani, who is an interesting visual artist, some of the films that I want us to chat about are great examples of like visually stunning films. And I think they kind of all go, funny enough, very hand in hand with a visual artist. So I think this is a really cohesive chat.
Yes.
Nice.
Sometimes at the video store, the films we end up chatting about could be very different from the style or vibe of the guest. And sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But here, this chat works very well together.
Cool.
But yeah, nice to see you guys. We've had an exciting week at the Bioscope setting up our upgrade, which we've spoken a bit about and we'll talk a bit about after the guest chat. But we had our first screening with our new upgraded system, which Cole and Graham came to yesterday, a screening of Poor Things, which is a lovely film that is nominated for a whole bunch of Oscars this year, the second most nominated film this year after Oppenheimer.
Well deserved.
So we'll talk about that. Films like Saltburn, which everyone's been talking about.
Yeah.
I'd love to get into that.
Yeah.
And then we went to a premiere of a film as well last week, so we'll talk about that. Going to be a great day.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, have you guys got something to keep you busy? Because Fhatuwani's going to pop in any moment.
I'm sure I'll find something in the storeroom.
I forgot to think of a joke.
Okay. Cool. All right, well, let's get into it. This is Fhatuwani popping in to rent something. How's it?
All good, man. How are you?
It's nice to connect.
It's definitely nice to connect, yeah.
I have had you as a very proud neighbor for, what has it been now? How long
3
have you been
years now.
Have you been at 44 Stanley for as long as 3 years?
Yeah.
And we see each other and we wave and we
Yeah.
smile and we occasionally chat a bit, but we haven't connected properly.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I think this is part of what I've always wanted from the video store, as a chance to have a bit of a deep, meaningful connection.
For
just
sure.
even if it's for 40 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
Just to chat
For sure. No, I
and get
love
to
chat.
know each other and talk more about what it is we do. Because I don't know whether we often just, especially in these days, have the time to really talk
Yeah, and I
and
think
exchange. Yeah.
I think everyone's too busy chasing their deadlines and trying to make ends meet, and
Yeah.
we forget to connect as humans. So thanks a lot for initiating that. And I remember a few months ago we had chatted about, like, I think it's a year now, an
Yeah,
artwork
time
that
just
we still
flies.
need to make a T-shirt. So
Yeah, I saw something that you did, and then I approached you with my limited edition hat on to
Yeah.
go, we should collaborate, because I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, this guy is incredible.
yeah, thanks.
I sort of knew you as the happy dude that worked in the neighborhood, but I hadn't sort of joined the dots. And then when I saw the work, I was like, oh my God,
Thanks, man.
how cool would it be to do something together? And
Yeah.
you had a lovely phrase, which was happiness is free.
Yeah,
And I love that. And sometimes limited edition isn't necessarily about a fully realized artwork. Sometimes it's just a concept or an idea or a thought. And I love that. And we spoke about it. And I got to see your studio.
yeah.
So I think on that note, how do you see yourself? Because I think you do multiple things. How do you introduce yourself at a dinner party?
To simplify it, I just say, okay, my name is Fhatuwani Mukheli. I'm an artist, but I'm a man of many talents. So
Sure.
there's many interests and things I do, and I try not to box myself into one because I'm constantly evolving. A few years ago, I was like a photographer, very known for that. Now I'm a painter, very
Yeah.
known for that, and I'm a film director and an aspiring cook.
And an
Chef.
aspiring cook. Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Okay, cool.
And a lot of other stuff, yeah.
Okay, so photography perhaps came first.
No, to be honest, art came first.
Okay.
Drawing came first.
Okay.
But then photography was the first step into an arty career.
Okay.
So it was the first medium that got recognized, that I could monetize.
yeah. Okay, that gave you some commercial
Yes.
kickback. What
Yes.
were you taking photos of?
I was doing a lot of commercial work, so adverts, shooting campaigns for the SABC, MultiChoice, MTN, big brands, a lot of brand stuff. And then what got me known was the work I was doing with my brothers and our friend Vuyo, as I See a Different You, which we would shoot ourselves in Soweto, and a lot of other like grungy African places.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a sec, because
Yeah.
I See a Different You
Yeah.
is one of those, in my ignorance, that is a concept or a phrase or a thing that I've heard, but I
Yeah.
don't quite know what it is,
Yeah.
because life is just moving too fast.
sure.
What is that? What is I See a Different You?
I See a Different You as a collective of creatives. There were 4 of us, and then 3 in front of camera. We were changing, or the whole idea was to change the perception of what people think of Africa.
Okay.
Purely because tourists come to our country and they will easily gravitate to taking photos of a kid with a snotty nose and a torn soccer ball.
Yeah.
And that will be the trendy image of South Africa or
Yeah.
Africa as a whole.
Yeah.
And we wanted to change that narrative that there's guys like me and you here
Yeah.
in South Africa. There's talent in Soweto, that's where we started. There's talent, there's love, there's style, there's art, there's all of that stuff. And I Say Different You was telling the true, authentic story of us.
But
You know?
how did it result? Was it in just you guys coming together to create work? Did you exhibit it?
Yeah,
How did it get published?
So it started on Tumblr, taking photos of ourselves, very stylish, like inspired by like pantsulas and what are those guys, sapers or something like.
Oh, so almost like a blog.
Yes, a blog.
So it was like a publication.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
With no writing, just images, and then people
cool.
would like, wow, what's that? Where's that? And all of that. And then immediately, I think on our third post on Tumblr, we got picked up by Studio Africa, which was run by Diesel Jeans, and then they took us to Senegal to shoot a global campaign with them as models,
Cool.
and then
you see,
as
the world is still, and certainly was back then. What year are we talking?
2011.
Was desperate to see a more exciting Africa.
Yeah.
Like the whole world was looking for that, and we noticed that also with the bioscope that. This idea of like African futures and futurism in Africa, and like looking at, you could see the climate was desperate to see something different, and not that little soccer ball kid.
For sure. Yeah,
so
and
you
then
guys
it blew
were
up.
there in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and
producing work. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that opened all our doors. I'm here today because of that.
I see a different you.
Yeah.
Such a great name.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky to get really cool names,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
but if it's true to what you were doing, then all of it feeds into itself. And okay, so that opened doors, and from there you were being more of a commercial photographer.
Yeah, so we then transitioned to be an agency, which we did commercial ideation, writing, ads, which we do, and then commercial photography as well. We ran a whole agency.
All through a very authentic and unique African lens.
Yes.
Figuratively and literally.
Yes, 100%.
Did you do film school? Where did you study?
No. I didn't study. I quit school in grade 10 because I'm dyslexic, and the school I went to didn't understand my dyslexia. I also didn't understand it.
Sure,
I just thought I'm very artistic, and
interesting.
I have a very supporting mother that understood that me not continuing with school doesn't mean I'm gonna fail. And it was also enough pressure from her saying, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but just don't be like those guys who are sitting in a danger box drinking, or be something. Do you have a plan?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'll be. I wanted to be a graphic designer at the time.
That's lovely.
But yeah.
Okay,
then,
but we're going to get through we're going to go on a little journey through your life in a moment, and I'd love to talk about the films that have influenced you along the way. This is the theory that we have at the video store, that the films we've watched have made us who we are today. So give that a thought. But what I wanted to say is that in varsity, especially in film school, you study this idea of the lens.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and it's how we view the world.
Yeah.
And what, you sort of look at the gaze, you look at all this sort of theory, but it's about how the world views something, and it can often be a very white or very Western view. And you can see how a lot of traditional advertising agencies can come at something from a point of view. And it's very exciting that you guys were then doing it from an authentically South African perspective, authentically African perspective.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Thanks, man. It's also because, it's easy to tell your own story. It's easy to be yourself than to be told who you are. So, yes, I think television was playing a lot of American stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate, or rather myself and my twin brother were fortunate that at home we never spent a lot of time watching TV.
Yeah.
We had to be either in the garden with our dad or selling mopani worms to make sure we have got lunch money, or there's too many things, so not a lot of TV. And if it's TV, it's boring stuff. We got off TV very early. Like, I think I stopped watching TV, commercial TV in 98. And
you just stopped.
I stopped, yeah. But it was also lucky because we had gotten a computer at the time, and there was people giving us like TV shows, like there was like that show called Hero. There's like a lot of other, which I'll get to my movies
Yeah.
that I like. But
yeah.
then because you're in a township, you don't know much, and America looks like a place that's fictional.
Yeah.
You then start traveling through all the films that your friends are giving you, the cool stuff that is not playing on TV, or some cool stuff that was on Bob TV.
Yeah, I remember
which-
Bop. Yeah.
Yeah, but we never had Bob TV, so I don't know how we used to try make it play. But there were friends who would maybe download some stuff and give us, and we would watch
Yeah.
on our computer.
Yeah, and okay, but just going back to that, the voice, it's you have to be able to understand yourself.
Yeah.
To then be able to share that with other people, and
Yeah.
it's okay to be confused. It's
Yeah.
okay to be figuring it out, but it's quite cool that you guys could be realized in who you are.
Yeah.
And the moment you it's strange. Someone gave me one of the nicest pieces of advice I ever got, was someone saying that once you know who you are, the people around you, like a partner or a future partner or your friends, you'll find those people once you know who you are first.
Yeah.
If you say, for example, don't watch a lot of TV, but you read books, maybe you'll meet your future partner at a book club.
Yes.
If you don't
I
really
believe in
party, if you don't party late, you're not going to find your future wife at a bar at midnight.
No,
It's
for
like
sure.
that's not how that works. Okay, but where are you now? You've got your studio here at 44 Stanley. You're producing art.
Yeah.
That art's doing so well.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I think there's a part of luck in that the art is doing well. And there's also a lot of hard work, I guess. Hard work. What luck meets you when you're working hard?
There was a famous golfer that said, "The harder I work, the luckier I get."
That's it. Yeah. So that's what I do. And for me, hard work, honestly, I've figured it out for me.
Okay.
Hard work is fun. So whatever I do, I make sure that it's fun. So if I'm in my studio till like 2 or 3 a.m., I'm not stressed going, oh God, man, I really hate this. I'm having a good time, I'm grateful that I can do what I do and enjoy it so much. And I can't believe that I wake up and I just play.
And why is it that you enjoy it? I mean, what is the joy you get out of it?
Firstly is I think I've paid my dues. I worked in agency for years.
Yeah.
I've worked a very corporate job. It's a corporate job where you wake up, you're presenting.
I also did ad agency
Yes.
life. I did it
Yeah.
for a year. Where
Yeah.
were you?
Draft FCB.
Yeah, one of the bigger ones.
Yeah. And then I started at Draft FCB, and then I went to Metropolitan Republic,
Yeah.
and then
This is
went
all the big ones.
and then went to Ogilvy. That's
Oh, shit.
where
Yeah.
I stopped. Then we started, I'd say, Different You.
Okay, so
Yeah.
your own agency came after
Yeah.
you had done significant time in
Yes.
that kind of corporate world yourself.
Yeah. And I think in my own agency, to be honest, I was wearing a suit in a way that I had to be something that I'm not. Running a business is not easy.
Sure.
And I had to fill up the shoes of, I don't know, I learned a lot. Run a team of people, to present and convince clients to give you lots of money, to be responsible, to deliver stuff. That was really amazing. And that I learned from advertising.
Sure.
And then all of those skills to run a business also started applying into me being an artist, because now when you're in advertising or when you're working with brands and you writing ads for them and you're shooting these commercials, there's a part which is called strategy. And we, hypothetically, let's say we're shooting for a New Balance. Before we get to that particular sneaker and shooting it, we need to understand who is the consumer of it.
Yeah.
What do they eat? Where do they live? What do they aspire to be? When they now afford that sneaker, what's the next sneaker they'll be affording?
What does it mean to them? Yeah.
What does it mean to them?
Yeah.
And I had to apply those type of insights and rules, or rather, what is it called? Experience to myself. Who is Fhatuwani? How does Fhatuwani want to be seen in the art scene? Who does he want to be collected by? What kind of caliber artist is he? Is he a Rolex? Is he a Cartier? Is he a Porsche? Is he a Mercedes-Benz? Is he a BMW?
This is now
To
okay. So
myself.
you applied the same strategy and thought process to yourself as an artist
Yeah.
once you... Is the agency still going?
Yeah, it is still going.
Okay, so you've
We're
still
very
got...
micro. Yeah.
Yeah, so you've still got that entity going to do that business, but now you as an artist are applying the same thing.
Yeah.
And who is Fhatuwani as an
Yeah.
artist? What watch are you?
To be honest, I'm your, what do they call it? Date Rolex. You know, it's very aspirable.
Okay, it's a day date.
It has a month and a day.
Okay,
You know,
so
so,
that's a particular kind of Rolex.
yes.
Okay, but the fact that you even are putting yourself as a Rolex
Yeah.
says a lot. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's in a good way. Like your art is
Getting there. And it's
certainly
also,
up there.
but in reality, I wouldn't say Rolex is too far out there. I'd say I'm a Cartier evolving to be a Rolex,
Okay.
and then finally to be like a Patek Philippe, which will be something that you don't actually own. You take
Yeah.
care of it.
I
through
love
time.
that experience. You got to appreciate that.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that-
But yeah,
that's good advertising.
Yeah.
You don't own one. You're
You
only
don't-
looking after it for the next generation.
Exactly. That's where the goal is with me. But I'm a fun guy. Beyond all of the strategy talk and whatever, I think Fhatuwani is a very adventurous guy. I love who I am first,
Yeah.
and I don't take myself seriously in the things that are in life, you know. And
Yeah.
then there's parts where I need to take myself seriously. Obviously, make sure that I'm paying for my bond, my car, my studio, and coming to work, creating the work, making sure that I'm doing the things that earn me a living or pay
Yeah.
me, you know. But yeah, all around in my life, while I'm doing all of that, I'm having fun. I love adventure. I love cooking, traveling, coffee, you know, music.
What are you hoping to get through the art in terms of what is the mission, or the, not necessarily mission, but what is that lens? What is your angle, or what is your hopes with the art?
Yeah. Okay. Beyond the.
It's a hard question
No,
because
it's cool.
it's the intention, I guess, of the art.
I think all artists, all of us want to be successful in the art and make lots of money off it. But most importantly, beyond that, I want to be able to keep on creating. That's the most important thing for me. I want to keep on doing what I do, which means I need to just earn enough to make sure that I can keep on creating. But my creation is to constantly, at the moment, I feel like being raised by a single mom made me realize that we overlook how amazing women are.
Okay.
And how amazing, how they are so selfless. Our mother did everything. She gave beyond herself to make sure that all of her children could be what they are today. We are fairly successful, so we are all doing well in our careers. And I remember as a kid seeing her just making things happen, you know. Growing up in a township and being Venda, which is like the smallest tribe in South Africa, there was lots of tribalism towards us as well.
Is it?
Being dark, being Venda, called names like Kwere and all of that stuff. It dents your ego, you know, or your confidence. You feel like you don't belong in places. But when you go back home feeling low and whatever, our mom would say, "You're amazing."
Yeah.
They just don't understand you.
Yeah.
You are talented. You are handsome. Like my mom gave me all the words of affirmation for life. I don't
Okay.
think I'll ever need anyone to affirm me.
Yeah.
She did so much of that I know who I am
Yeah.
from that, you know. And also,
And is this kind of coming out in your art?
Yes.
Is that sort
Yeah.
of the themes you're exploring?
Yes. So I rambled a bit there.
No, this is a good ramble. It's what gives the context of the
Yeah.
work that you produce. Yeah.
Yeah, so I celebrate women in most of my work. I do
Okay.
portraiture of women in their glory.
And it's mostly painting with actual paints, or are you playing with lots of different things?
Lots of different things. At the
Okay.
moment, I'm playing a lot with charcoal dust, but I
cool.
also love acrylic,
Yeah.
and I've got oil sticks. But yeah, my main two mediums are, let's say 3. I like ink pens, charcoal dust, and acrylic.
Yeah.
But I've got like oil sticks now that I'm also playing with. I do portraits of women and like an aura pattern around them.
Okay.
So the patterns resemble an aura of them.
Lovely.
You know, some are inspired by my path in graphic design. So I love vectors. So I'll do like a vertical or geometrical lines.
Yeah.
But they all resemble the aura and the strength of women.
And are they women, like lifelike recreations of? I mean, are you trying to copy particular women, or are they all imaginary?
So I take a lot of photos of women, a lot. And I also, when I'm doing these portraits, I try not to be as accurate as possible to who they are and how they look like.
Yeah.
So what I do, there's a word I forgot, man. I can draw with both hands. I can paint.
Ambidextrous.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm ambidextrous. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm mainly right-handed.
Okay.
And I find that when I use my left hand to do these portraits, it adds such a cool thing, because I also don't want portraits of people that will always recognize themselves.
Yes.
So it gives it doesn't distort it, but it just makes it different. If I do a portrait of you and I'm not trying to be accurate, I'll use my left hand.
Okay.
It will still have it has a better flair.
Yeah, that's
You know,
interesting.
so that's what I do. And it's
Lovely.
women, their glory.
Okay. And I think it's pertinent to mention now that the art world very much is underpinned by branding and this exercise of your value and understanding the commercial part of it. Ultimately, I mean, we all wish for artists just to be there and create, but the people behind artists are people that understand these very similar branding values that come through in advertising. And so it's important to, artists, for example, never want to devalue their art. And art houses and galleries that represent artists would never want to discount. And it's important that you are valued and that you're obviously that your art keeps going up. So the commercial sort of business side of art is underpinned by this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you've come from this commercial world so that you understand that you were born in that.
Yeah.
This idea of brand having value. You're this kind of brand or you're that kind of brand. And
For sure.
I have a friend who was an artist who did struggle a bit in COVID just from timing, even though his pieces would sell for many, many thousands of rands. But he was like, discount, do anything, sell, because I need to live in this sort of year-long thing. He is an artist that goes very much like exhibition to exhibition. And they were like, we don't want to. We can't be seen to bring your art down in value. It's not that. It's not how this works.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Yeah. It's also, I think as artists, or rather, I've learned that as amazing and fun art is for me to create, it's also as important for me to understand the business of art.
Yeah.
And because this is my primary income, I need to take it serious,
And there's got to be longevity. That's the other thing, is that we do in the creative world, whether you're an artist or a musician or anyone, fashion designer, you, the last thing you want to be as well is a flash in the pan, where you arrive and do well and then you're gone in some capacity. So what are you thinking about, or what are you putting in place to ensure your longevity?
Yeah, so we live in a social media world right now. You constantly need to be seen doing what you do.
Sure.
Being in shows, being in art fairs, group shows, studio openings. You need to stay, or rather for me, I always want to stay in people's eyes. When they open their phones, they must see, oh, I actually do want his work, and create desire. I'm also I'm in chats with a gallery locally, very cool gallery, and for them to also kind of take over some of the things that I'm not able to do.
Yeah.
I'm currently an independent artist, and it's great. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing 3 years, but right now I want to elevate to the next step,
Yeah.
which means there's many adverts I've missed last year purely because I'm busy. I'm busy with other stuff. Like I have deadlines there. I don't have enough time to place all my work everywhere.
Yeah.
But working with this gallery will help me stay in all these places that I wasn't able to enter or to show my work in.
Sure.
Purely because I'm too busy. I'm one person.
Sure, but a lot of that is the here and now. But how
Oh.
do you see the future?
Oh yeah.
How do you think one should look after your future?
Yeah. I think, for me, worrying too much about the future gives me anxiety. So I don't do that.
Okay.
For me to secure what the future looks like, I need to do what's right, which I need to stay creating.
Yeah.
I need to constantly look at opportunities,
Yeah.
find ways to grow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at where to be in a museum soon.
Yeah.
But
That's it. That's the answer.
To
yeah.
be
it's to
connected
sort of
by a museum. Yeah.
To go in there. Yeah.
The Sotheby's, to be in all these spaces that creates big value of your work and constantly work, because I think life has ups and downs.
Yeah.
What's important for me as an artist is to protect the part that makes me happy, which is creating.
Yeah.
And protecting that is to making sure that I've got a good steady income and not put pressure in the art financially.
Yeah.
So I'm putting placing what do they call it? Rather like other income streams beyond this, so that
Yeah.
I don't stress about
Okay.
I don't have cash for my studio or
Yeah,
my.
and that you're not doing the art literally for the paycheck.
There we go.
There's because you say you're also doing some commercial directing, hey?
Yes, yeah, I'm doing commercial directing. I've signed with an agency in France called Cream. With my twin brother, we'll be shooting as a duo directors.
Okay, so is the hope to actually then be doing commercials overseas?
Yeah.
You'll
yeah,
then
yeah.
travel to shoot stuff.
Yes. I think maybe if you followed last year, we were traveling quite a lot. I was traveling
Okay.
quite a lot. I was doing that already. It's also just to make sure that I love directing as well. I love photography as well. The art is like my heart and soul. So I also need to make sure that I'm an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't like to have one dependent
No,
income
of
stream.
course.
Like,
No, and I mean, I have all people very much get that.
Yeah, because I know
Okay.
you've got t-shirts, caps, all the
No,
you
it's just,
get it.
Well,
yeah.
I just think I'm also just one of those people that every few years, like, I want to start something else.
Yeah.
And I want to develop things, and I love building stuff
Yeah.
up. Okay, but let's take a little journey.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Where did we grow up?
I grew up in Soweto, in Pinville, Zone 4,
Okay.
but I was born in Soweto, in Shawela,
Shawela. Okay.
in 1985, and then in
Hey, 85.
Yeah, are you 85 as well?
Yeah, baby.
Ah, that's how we get along.
Yeah.
We old buddies.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's
Shawela
amazing
85.
it's amazing how you, at this point in your life, do start feeling older.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, damn. Getting abs is impossible now.
Yeah.
I want them so bad, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
tough.
Gone. And then you look back on photos long ago where you thought you were not in good shape, and you're like, oh my God, you were in the best shape ever.
That was fantastic. Oh, man. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So grew up in Joburg.
Yeah. grew
Okay,
up
so
in
Joburg, and we have a film which we like to discover called your puppy love film, which is
Okay.
the movie that came to you when you were very young, so kind of nursery school, primary school. That was your first love, your first film that you loved. Could you think of what that could be?
It was my first experience in a cinema. I think, I don't remember how old I was, but we watched Pocahontas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disney's Pocahontas.
It was nice, yeah.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
lovely.
it. I slept halfway, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Soweto never really had a cinema up until Maponya, or did they have cinemas?
They did.
Where did you go watch?
We watched it in Dobsonville,
Okay.
but there was a cinema at AA2, which is in Mfulo, and there was also one in Kliptown. I forgot the name, but yeah,
Okay.
there were cinemas there.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. Okay, so Pocahontas was the one.
that's the one. Man.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
What did you appreciate about it?
Because I loved art and drawing, I was just so curious to know how they made them move,
Yeah.
how they make the animation, the colors, her face. I just thought that kind of art was impossible at the time. I
Yeah.
was so fascinated to look at it. And the story was quite romantic. And sad enough, like I think a week ago, my girlfriend told me that the Pocahontas story is not exactly the story that Disney told.
Oh,
The
sure.
real story
yeah.
is such a sad one. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah. Something to think about is the fact that Avatar really is Pocahontas
Yeah.
in space.
Yes.
You
For sure.
forget about
For
that.
sure. Yeah.
But no, the true the sort of, I don't think there was ever a true literal Pocahontas, but yeah, it in those kinds of stories in real life were a lot more heart wrenching and
Yeah.
a lot worse. And
Yeah. For sure.
probably in line with like human trafficking
For sure. Yeah.
and like slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah,
bro.
but good old Disney just gives it a nice little
Yeah.
wash over.
Yeah.
Okay, then we go into high school,
For sure.
and now we're crushing a little harder, maybe exploring, finding stuff that's perhaps a little bit more dangerous, potentially.
Yeah.
Where was high school for you?
I was in Langlaagte. So it's in Langlaagte,
Yeah.
close to Brixton.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't fun there for me, to be
Okay.
honest. So
Where was high school? Where did you go?
in a school called Langlaagte.
Okay.
In Langlaagte, yeah.
Okay.
It was a Afrikaans school,
Okay.
but they were just accepting multiracial kids as well.
Yeah.
But all types of kids, I think they had already accepted everyone
Yeah.
2 years before I went in there. Yeah, but it wasn't.
Well, so you and me are the same age. My good friend Nico, black dude, was the first South African black kid to be accepted in grade 1 in Bryanston Primary. So
Hectic, yeah.
so if you were an 85 kid, there's a good chance that like literally from your formative year
yeah,
of grade 1, you had South African black kids
Yeah.
sort of in school with you.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily a thing.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
But now we're in high school. Dyslexia is kicking in, hey?
Bad, bro.
Bad.
Hectic.
And so you struggled a bit, eh?
I struggled a lot. So I think the school was a technical school. My mom kind of saw, I think, that we were struggling in primary school anyway, with like spelling out the basic stuff. She took us there because we very like visual.
Yeah. No, and that's
And-
that
yeah.
is the real strength of the more technical school is
Yeah.
knowing that it's for the kids that aren't fitting in 100% to the normal mold.
Yeah. But
Okay.
then, unfortunately, in that school, they were not geared up for kids like us at the time. You know, they were just technical, but they still wanted us to be academics, you know.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing well at all, except at the technical drawing class,
Yeah.
fitting and turning, because like you're working with metal. I can work with that.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think the trauma of hating school then started in high school because our teachers were like, "You guys are dumb. You're gonna wash your friend's car. You'll never make it." You know,
Jesus.
just harsh, bro. And I remember the guy
That's a very particular line.
I remember the guy they used to compare us with.
But
who
you
was
keep
very
saying
well.
us. So is it this
Me
is
and
you?
my twin brother. Sorry.
So, no, but I'm saying, so was he struggling too?
Yeah, we both struggle with dyslexia.
Okay.
And this teacher of us would mention this kid's name that, yeah, you're going to wash his car. I wouldn't mention it because I don't know if he knows me now.
No, sure. No, we don't have to mention
Yeah.
names, but I mean,
I
okay.
was like, yeah.
And
but
was it a racial thing as well? Was this kid's car that you were going to wash a white kid?
No, black
okay,
kid.
okay.
Uh,
No,
black
so it wasn't about race
Yeah.
too much as it was about class.
Just class, yeah.
Okay.
And it would hack me because I would sit there
That's
in
a
school.
fucking horrible thing to say.
Horrible, bro. You know,
Jesus.
I remember my days there, I would sit by the window and just look out and
It's
zone
like,
out.
thank you, teacher. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
literally your one job is to try and teach me,
Yeah.
not fucking
And
break
then-
my spirit.
Yeah, and then one Afrikaans teacher. Her name is Miss Engelbrecht. I don't know. I must try find her.
Yeah?
Wherever she is. She's the one who's like, you guys are not dumb at all. You just
Yeah.
have this
Oh,
dyslexia, you know.
way to go,
And
Miss
bro,
Engelbrecht. Yeah.
and I felt good. Then I was like,
Oh, fuck, man.
I really loved her for that. And but on the upside, I used to look forward to just seeing my friends at school and do like backflips and you know like gymnastic stuff, you know,
Oh,
like
cool.
break dance.
Okay,
We used
you
to
were
be in
very
hip
active
hop,
too.
yeah,
Okay.
graffiti.
Okay, well, around that time, what films can you remember? What came to you at this kind of complicated time?
Because I was into like all the artist stuff, the graffiti and all of that. I had met these guys called, I'll call them by their graffiti names and then their real names. It's Knock 2 and Hack 1, and then their real names is Mzwandile and Mkolis.
Okay.
They came to fix their laptop, their computer at my house, and then they were just so cool, and they were artists. They gave us a lot of indie films. I just got into these indie films. The one film I remember that was extremely confusing. I didn't understand it, but I really liked it. It was Pi.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And,
you and I were chatting about that the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pi, it's the symbol of
Yes,
pi,
the symbol of pi, yeah.
and it is the first real sort of debut film from Darren Aronofsky, who then went on to do Requiem for a Dream,
Yes.
which he got very famous for,
yes.
and he's kept going. Mother, The Fountain, Noah,
Yeah.
and then most recently The Whale,
Yeah.
which was the
Which
Oscar
I
film.
loved. They were
The Whale's great,
Yeah.
And from a directing point of view, he didn't do much,
much, yeah.
and
The
that
story.
was the point.
Yes.
Was to not actually direct the pants out of it. It was a very well written, thought out play.
Which actually reminds me of Pi, because it wasn't also overly directed.
Yeah, Pi. I need to go back to it. It
Me
was a
too.
very long time ago, but it was very experimental. It was black and white.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they'd sit in this like bench there. I also
very
need to go
very
watch.
DIY.
Yes.
It was made like
Yeah.
he sort of made the props, and it was
Yes.
all about this dude.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's the
Okay,
film I
so Pi
remember.
came to you then.
Came to me then, and then I got into manga.
Ah, cool.
Which like Akira, which was amazing. I love that stuff so much even today. Ghost in the Shell,
Okay.
Cowboy Bebop. Then those are like, I think when we got to Cowboy Bebop, it was like a series, you
Yeah.
know. And I only watched that stuff for long.
Yeah.
And
I would imagine that very unique, crazy Japanese world of manga and anime would be incredible for someone like yourself
yeah,
to see this completely different other world.
yeah.
And,
This
and it
is-
and it sort of breaks your shell. Like anyone who, you know, is living in a community where you might struggle to see outside of it. So let's just say in a township or in a small town, somewhere where you're not really exposed to just this incredible, complete different people. Seeing that would be amazing, I would imagine.
It was, man. And at the time, you know, my life was very simple. Going to school, back, you know, going to like malls. We're not exposed. So I was traveling through all these indie films and seeing how other people think and what they do, if this world is really real, you know. And then I went to a bad rabbit hole, got into conspiracy theories.
Okay.
Yes, and then I had to snap out of it quick. I was like, no, man, this is just making me, what's this thing when you're like very scared, paranoid.
Yeah.
Because now you don't want to work for the man and you think you know too much. You know, there's David Icke is telling you that there's lizards there, there's in these
shit. Yeah,
mountains.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man, I got into all that stuff.
I got given that book once, and it was
Children of the Matrix.
it was the biggest. Yeah, it's called The Biggest Secret or The Big Secret, but it's David Icke.
Yes.
Icke, or however you pronounce his surname. And the premise of when that book was handed to me was not like you should believe this. It's more just like just expand your brain.
Yeah.
Like, this is what some people think.
Yeah.
This idea of like the lizard people.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
I got to the Children of the Matrix, which was because I'm not like amazing at reading. I was so sucked into it. I was so interested.
So this is what is this, a documentary?
It's a book.
A book?
And then there was a documentary. Yes,
Okay.
I got into that stuff so bad. Then I was like, nah, man, enough. then
Okay.
I stumbled on Guy Ritchie.
Nice.
His work, which was different, and
Yeah.
I still love his work.
And very authentically him. You know, that very potent British
Yes.
perspective, that
Yes.
humor, the
Yeah.
characters, the
Yeah.
people.
Fast pace,
And he wrote it the way he hears it.
Yeah.
These were the stories he was hearing. These were the people that were around him. It was very authentically him.
Yeah.
And so I'd imagine that could translate to you, to go, I need to be authentically me.
Yeah, I think that just informed my imagination. The part where that got me to be authentically myself was being in advertising and looking at brands and seeing that, obviously brands lie to sell things, and
Yeah.
sometimes when you are selling ideas to clients and you are authentic to them, they actually like you more. And you come in and say, hey guys, my name is Fhatuwani and I'm going to be selling, this is an ad about selling a SIM card. And cut the fat and get to the meat and say, we're not going to try and sugarcoat this thing. We know that there's a lot of people in Limpopo who don't have cell phones. Let's create an ad for them. How do we tell them a story that relates to them to get them to want to buy this SIM card?
Yeah.
And then you tell an authentic story and people resonate, they feel it in their hearts and they buy their work, So even in everything that I do in my art, it's always about authentically myself, and the stories that I'm trying to tell or I tell through my art resonate with others because they feel that, I also love my mom, or I love family. I love, the being in a broken family and seeing a beautiful photo of a black couple embracing each other is something that we need to have in our homes, because kids need to see that is possible in their homes, even though their homes are broken. This is something that can happen in their lives. This is something that is possible and real and authentic.
Yeah. What happened to Dad? Where's Dad?
Our dad left so he got medically unfit and they paid him millions.
Okay.
And he ran for it, man. He went to go spend it with other women, I guess.
Okay.
And it was tough, man. I think the first experience of
Medically
a
unfit of what?
he
Where
was
was
he was a truck driver and then he couldn't walk anymore. I don't know what it was. But my dad, he's still alive.
Yeah.
He's just I think there's people who are addicted to illness.
Okay.
So he'll go to a doctor, they'll cure him, they'll give him what he needs. And then after a few weeks, he'll go take some traditional medicines that has nothing to do with his illness. And then he's infected. His leg is rotting, whatever. He's addicted to that stuff, to just being sick.
Okay, but
So he ran.
But he left you.
He left and he left us with our mom, who was unemployed, and it was tough, man.
Yeah.
But we made it out.
No, listen, you're thriving, and I think
we thrived.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah, man.
Okay, then we get into our career building time.
Yes.
So you didn't study, which is great. You went on, and I just love the fact that you were able to build this career for yourself that was authentically you. That it wasn't built off the back of degrees. It was hard work.
Yeah.
Around the time that you were perhaps in advertising, agency life, building a career. We've got a film called "It's Getting Serious."
Oh yeah.
which is all these films are similar to the kinds of relationships you would have been having at that point in your life. So this is the serious one where perhaps you're moving in, you're living together. It's like, but it's the second wave of discovering more.
Yeah.
What films came to you around then?
I wasn't watching much films because in advertising, working in agency, it was extremely time consuming.
Yeah, sure.
We're working very late, man. You get in there at you start work at 9 and you leave at 9 p.m. or 10, So I wasn't watching much films. It was like a lot of series.
Okay. But it could be series.
Yeah, I was.
Which ones kind of come to you?
I was watching, what's this thing? It was a Dracula series called True Blood. It
Okay.
was so funny. Not funny, but it was really cool. And then at the same time, there was Breaking Bad.
Okay.
This is like 2011,
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
I was so consumed by that. And then, obviously, what's that thing? Avatar came out, was watching that. That was a big game changer.
Yeah.
Big game changer. But I wasn't watching a lot of films. I was just watching ads and learning how to write the right ad
Yeah.
to win awards at Cannes and
Yeah.
movies and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can get very sucked in when you're in the ad world to be watching all those other ads, all the winning ads.
You get
Some of them are
ads of the
sort of-
world,
yeah,
the
yeah.
book, and you checking who won there.
Yeah, it's an interesting game it can suck you in perhaps a bit too much, and you become a bit too obsessed with the awards.
Yeah.
Well, the agencies get a bit too obsessed with the awards.
Yeah, and I think it's the best way to grow and grow your career and better, because the more you win, the more famous you are, and the more
I realized that advertising agency was a soccer league. It was about how many goals you scored as the player
yeah
that gave you a value where you could be traded to other agencies.
Yeah.
And it was what accolades the agency has earned. So if you win a Lurie, it obviously goes on your CV, and then the actual trophy goes in the reception of the agency. But it was never about what you did for the agency.
Exactly.
That connection was never forged.
Yes.
It was your own accolades and their accolades.
Yeah.
And they
they'll
would trade
squeeze
you, you would trade yourself,
Yeah.
you would go, cool, I've got 2 gold Luries this year. Who wants me? And you would maybe jump up the ranks
It was tough.
through
bro.
other agencies, as opposed to someone going, hey, Fhatuwani, thanks for everything. Let's upgrade you here. Let's build you up here.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
No, that's exactly it. That's what I felt too. And I'd never talk shit about agency because it got me where I am.
Sure.
But it can be an extremely toxic environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our last ones then is the film that you would settle down with, the film that you would marry, your sort of all-time favorite. I'm curious whether you've got...
Do I have?
Maybe you haven't met it yet?
Oh, no, I do. Ghost in the Shell, man.
Ghost in the Shell.
All,
Alright.
and all. There's 3, right? I think 4.
Oh, in terms of?
Because the movies, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. But any of them. I love
Okay.
Ghost in the Shell.
I don't know them as a trilogy.
Let me check.
Okay.
Let's fact check. But yeah, Ghost in the Shell. It is
Okay.
the one. I love it. I watch it once a year. Every
Okay.
year since I've watched it, every year I watch it.
Okay. I must say I've only very recently gotten submerged into anime. I've obviously known about them and seen a bunch, but Ghost in the Shell is one of the big ones.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of the sort of all-time favorites. On that note, a film I'd love to then rent you. Yeah. What were you going to say?
There's only 2, I think.
Okay.
The third one was like an actual film, not manga. It was
Okay.
with Scarlett Johansson, which was nice as well.
So that was the real life adaptation of Ghost in the Shell,
Yeah,
which
it was dope.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to try and it's cool to give it a go. I think the world quite largely wasn't happy with it. I think
I
they
enjoyed it,
prefer
yeah.
the original
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people were like, why are we bringing in this Hollywood chick to be the woman? But it's like that was the politics of Hollywood. You got to bring in the celebrity sometimes to sell the tickets. But are you when you say Ghost in the Shell, you're talking about the anime, the
anime movie.
the actual drawn
Yes.
animated film.
Yeah.
I'd love to recommend a film to you called Your Name.
Okay, let me write it down.
This
Your
is
name.
the film. This is the film that I think you should rent from the video store.
Okay.
It's sadly not too available in South Africa, but
Okay.
it's a more modern anime classic.
Oh, hectic.
Yeah, but it's just visually, it's incredible. Story wise, it's so strong.
Beautiful.
It's a lovely film.
I will definitely check it
Yeah,
out.
Your Name. But a lot of anime is available on Netflix.
Yeah.
So the big one, Studio Ghibli, is the big sort of Pixar equivalent. And Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Princess Mononoke, they're all on Netflix.
I've seen. I just watched.
Have you been watching some of that?
Blue Samurai. Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Blue-Eyed Samurai. Yeah.
Kick ass. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, that's a special one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
love
haven't seen it yet. We have spoken about it on the video store. It was one of our top picks of this year or
Yeah.
of 2023.
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
but the film I can rent you is going to be Your Name. You'll love it. It's a time travel. It's a love story. It's just everything that's lovely about anime.
Yeah.
And the magic of it all.
I'll check it out today.
Yeah, lovely, man. But listen,
Man,
I
thanks.
just want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
It's nice to chat. It's nice to learn more about you and how it all sort of came to be.
Yeah.
And you're just one of those people that, although we don't sort of always chat or connect, I get to see you often, which is great. You
Thanks.
always bring a bit of smiles and joy and as I walk through the courtyard. But I also just really have enjoyed seeing you just thrive.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
It's just great to see someone working hard and priorities right and just being so successful.
Thank you.
And
I
I think
appreciate it.
you deserve it all.
Thanks, brother. I
Alright.
really appreciate it. We must make more time to have a beer.
Yeah, lovely, man.
Or cognac, rather.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers, man.
What a lekker chat.
Yeah.
And what a genuinely nice guy. Fhatuwani is a real gem and just such a professional dude. Like in just something as simple as coming to record the podcast. Like he just did it with such, I don't know, he just sort of did it properly and nicely and was efficient and communicative. Not to say other guests haven't been, but it was really great to get to know him better. Just this guy that I see almost every day at 44 Stanley, just to like pick his brain. How are you guys?
Fine.
Let's chat more about yesterday. Yesterday was a very special day.
Yes.
And I got to share the moment with you two. Basically what it was is the Bioscope this year hit the ground running with a very exciting upgrade. I feel like I actually haven't mentioned exactly what it is because there are many people, probably more people who listen to this podcast will know what it is. Basically, it's something called DCP, which is the big, fancy, and somewhat expensive system that pretty much most cinemas have, which is a big projector and certain sound so that you can get the films that are being released by bigger studios. And we go into it with a bit more detail last week, but we finally were able to afford it, get it installed, and this last Sunday was the first screening of this kind of film that is now possible. The first film that we've gone with is Poor Things, which is the new film by Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah.
You can't say his name without like trying to sound Greek.
I'm very impressed.
When I was in Greece, I really loved the accent and I loved how everything was very famous. Everything. They're so proud. And so it's like, that's the famous, very famous. This is very famous. So when I see his name, Yorgos Lanthimos, I can't not but channel my Greek. And so what was really great is that you two, as chommies and film enthusiasts, promptly bought your tickets to come to the Bioscope. So it was
Yep.
great to say a few words and just sort of share the moment and then have you guys in the cinema with me. So thank you, Graham and Cole.
Cool.
Let's talk about it.
So in terms of DCP,
No, Poor Things now. We've
moving on.
We've explained the DCP. I mean, maybe speak in context of that, but
Yeah.
but let's talk about Poor Things.
I think it was great to come here for a release like that instead of having to go to a Stay Clinical.
Yes.
I come to the familiar spots and then now the choice is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was explaining to a friend this weekend. I was saying, like, now the Bioscope is a choice between Stay Clinical, New Metro, the Bioscope.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for our pick of these films, you know, and that
Yes.
was the thing that I had to be quite careful of when we wrote the first press release. It sort of said something like, "We now got the same thing as mainstream cinemas, so come to us for latest releases." And I was
Yeah.
like, no, hold on. I don't want people to confused the fact that we're not going to just be like any other cinema. These are going to be our choices.
Yeah.
And of course, now is just this amazing time. January, February, March will always be a great time for cinema
Yeah.
because it's in and around the Oscars. And we'll talk more about the Oscars in general, but it's important that some of these films are screening now so that they're fresh in the eyes and memory of members of the Academy so that they can win more awards. So that is why it's not a coincidence that all these films come out around this time.
Yes.
So we really picked a good time to start with DCP because I have a little bit of anxiety about like how I'm going to juggle all these amazing films with my one cinema. But it's a lovely problem to have. So I don't mind. But what is really great is that there is this planned release schedule throughout the year, and it gets updated and tweaked. But it's just so cool for me to go like, that's coming next week, and that's coming the week after, and then there's that film. There's certain things like the Joker sequel, which is going to be much later. No one's even thinking about it now, but it's like I see the date; it's there. It's going to come.
And the cool thing that you can do as well is you can talk to the distributors and get the first Joker film screened here in the week before it's
Exactly.
released.
And do like some kind of double bill, or even when it happens, or. Yeah, but refresh people's memory. Totally. That's what the Bioscope always did do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's that really great Ryan Gosling film, The Fall Guy,
Yeah.
which just looks so fun. It just looks like that sort of silly Gosling, the Gosling that we know from Ken. It just looks really silly. But Poor Things was such a great film to start with.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't think of a better film to sort of be our first DCP film.
Absolutely.
Because
It's very Bioscope.
It is such a big old swing.
Yeah.
And it is so fantastical and ridiculous at times and like very funny and then also just very bizarre and out there.
Yeah.
So quick back of the box is we're sort of a couple of hundred years ago, I'd imagine, sort of 1800s, early
it felt like
1900s.
Yeah, something like that. It's got like a retro futurist sort of like implaceable time.
Yeah, we're in the sort of old trading, navigating by ship times. And we have Willem Dafoe's character, who is this surgeon who has been able to do these fantastical things. So there's like, he lives in a house with sort of a goat body with a duck head and a Frenchy dog on a chicken's body. And so we just live in a world where this kind of miraculous surgery is possible. And we've got a Emma Stone, who is a grown woman who has the brain of a child. And over the course of the movie, you understand how this has come to be and where this all comes from. But basically, the whole point of the movie is Emma Stone discovering the world and kind of learning about the world through this kind of childlike brain. So it's an incredible acting on her part, very free and ridiculous and out there. You see a lot of Emma Stone as she discovers her vagina, for example, and doesn't understand why she's not allowed to give herself pleasure and be happy
at the dinner table.
At the dinner table. So there's a lot. And then old Mark Ruffalo plays this sort of conniving lawyer who sort of takes advantage of her, and he takes her away on a trip. But he's the most ridiculous man.
Yeah, absolutely.
and he very much deserves his Oscar nomination as Best Supporting Actor. And then you get some nice commentary about the world as she sort of discovers things like inequality and poverty and things like that. And sort of how money works. But I'll stop there in terms of plot, but it's just, fantastical. It feels like you're reading this kind of old Frankenstein-esque Grimm Tales fairy tale with, just fun.
Yes.
There are times where it just really feels fun. Like they were like, what would be the most ridiculous thing to do?
Absolutely.
And we just want to have fun. So that's really nice because when you think of art house, when you think of the more challenging cinema, that often can be a little bit of a drag in the mud. And it can be very depressing, very dramatic, very harrowing, where this was actually quite fun.
Yeah.
And it balances all of those things
Even
well.
Yeah, and even though you're seeing bodies being cut up and like the macabre, it's still fun.
Absolutely.
So Poor Things is in cinemas, but in particular, my cinema.
Yeah.
And it's just exciting to be that cinema now that can screen these movies, and the bioscope can be something I wish I actually had said. I thought about saying it and then I just forgot when you're talking in front of people. But, get to know me, Owen, Celine, Bongi, Portia, Polite, Swanky.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you come to the bioscope often, these people become your friends. And I think you miss that in other cinemas. You never get to know anyone at the Ster-Kinekor in Sandton. You know what I mean? Like, it's not friendly in that regard.
Yes.
Where the bioscope is that. There's only so many of us that work here.
Yeah.
And so if you come often, like, we'll learn how you like things and how you want things. And I think that's the difference, is that personal touch.
Yeah.
So I really hope that we'll just see more and more people come more often. And so it's exciting. But you guys, tell me about what you thought of the film.
I was surprised at how, I didn't watch the trailer. I saw some stills, obviously,
Right.
throughout the time leading up to it. But then it felt like it was 2024's version of, like, Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
That's
Like
a good,
through
that's
the-
a good
The
example.
Tim Burton quirkiness
Yes.
and fun.
Yeah.
So much with, like, a little bit without the strangeness of Tim Burton. It's still there, but it's more accessible.
Yeah.
And then everything that you were talking about in terms of the discovery and the fun and the play and the horror also feels like it happens, like, with the camera, with the sound, with the music. The soundtrack was weird.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Bonkers, right?
Completely
In the
bonkers.
same way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's got some interesting things to say about the way that a lot of men view women.
Yeah.
Like, I think the biggest thing I was saying to Graham yesterday is that when Willem Dafoe hires the assistants to observe Emma Stone,
Yes.
says to her, I want you to observe her and take down notes because I need to see how the brain develops in relation to the body
Yeah.
and what she learns. And it's an experiment, so I need meticulous note taking. And you kind of take on that objective throughout the rest of the movie, understanding
Oh, cool, yeah.
child's mind, woman's body, and the interplay of that.
Yes.
And then through that lens, you're seeing how men look at women that, like in Mark Ruffalo's case, doesn't understand what's happening medically or in terms of the experiments,
Yeah.
but sees a woman that's just interested in play and isn't
Yes.
burdened by morality or independence and just takes advantage of that. And then as soon as she has an individual thought and wants to do her own thing,
Yes.
he starts to lose his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's lovely like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graham, any other gems?
I think it uses its like visuals really well in the sense that now that it's in a way been popularized by Wes Anderson, the kind of like quirk and like the deliberate artifice of like the sets look like sets.
Yes.
It's
So
kind of
It is London, it is Lisbon, but it looks
yes,
very
like so often that
fantastical.
sort of thing is just used for an aesthetic, whereas here it like fits the narrative. The like
Yes.
oddity of it requires
Yes.
like an odd wrapping.
Yeah, it
Totally.
almost felt a bit sort of Salvador Dali in a way.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
even you can see like on that I think it was the Lisbon one, the sky is a painting. It's like there are
Absolutely.
walls that are painted and you
Yeah.
can see it.
Yes.
And they're not trying to hide it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I really wanted to figure out how they were doing the matte painting and the movements and
Yeah.
like the skies, and it just felt like I couldn't figure it out or
Yeah.
recognize
Yeah.
parts of it.
Visually, it's a real treat.
Yes.
Oh, and I was also, because every single time I post a review to Instagram, one of our loyal customers, Perrin, like immediately replies to all of them and gives his 2 cents. It's actually so amazing. And he was saying to me he loved the Bella moment. I was like, what's the Bella moment?
What is the
and,
Bella moment?
And then he said when Mark Ruffalo's outside the whorehouse in Paris going, Bella!
Yes.
And I was like, oh, and he's like, yeah, it's totally referencing Streetcar Named Desire.
Stella.
Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting. Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of visual treats, I think another one that just also visually looked amazing, which was a film I finished this week. I know you watched it, Cole, and you weren't the biggest fan. Is Saltburn.
Right.
And I think
Let's get into it.
let's get into it for a moment. I think what's very interesting for me about Saltburn, and I'll say this sort of as the start to sort of set it up, it's a very art house film. in the sense that it's trying to challenge all sorts of boundaries and be bold and bizarre and courageous and outrageous film. And it came out on Amazon Prime. So it might have had a cinema release in some parts of the world, but it didn't here. And what it did, which I think is very interesting, is that it got other people that wouldn't have normally watched a movie like that watching a movie like that.
Absolutely.
And going, what the fuck? And like realizing, and like a whole new kind of almost generation of people going like, there's movies like this where like weird shit like happens and there's these outrageous scenes. So I think that's very interesting. And I just find it, I just find it amazing that there was, that anything can sometimes break through the general mold, and it can be something that people actually talk about.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
very rarely happens. There's
doesn't
so
happen
many
often.
TV shows, but there's one that'll just break through. Like I remember Wednesday, just sort of breaking through for whatever reason. They had more budget. It was just good. It was Tim Burton and Jenna Ortega. You know what I mean? It's like some kind of lightning in a bottle moment.
Yes.
So maybe it's around Oscar season, or, you know, I don't know what it is necessarily, but Saltburn just made its way through. And probably also because of its one or two outrageous scenes.
Right.
Where people just remember, people remember that and go, oh my God. And it's just something to talk about.
Exactly.
Right.
Like going into it, I knew what all of the outrageous moments were based on Letterboxd reviews and people talking about
before
it.
you'd even seen it.
Before I really understood the plot.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a little bit insane. I think for that purpose, it served Amazon Prime's interests really well.
Yeah, and you can imagine why
Right.
Amazon would do that. Because they would want something outrageous that people would talk about. But yeah, quick back of the box, we're sort of in the 90s, right?
2006.
The 2000s.
And remember
We're
that
in the
because
we're
the
in
rich,
2000s.
the rich family has a copy of Superbad on DVD.
Yeah.
Right.
And that comes out the year afterward. So it's like the rich get everything, including Superbad on DVD in 2006.
Interesting. But yeah,
Right.
the soundtrack had a lot of the time in it. Young dude, a little bit of a nerdy, misfitty guy, goes to Oxford. He's there on a scholarship, basically becomes enamored with a wealthy, attractive guy.
Jacob Elordi.
They go to his summer house for holiday, which is this huge castle called Saltburn. And I don't want to give too much away from that point, but our quiet, sort of weird, conniving main character kind of works his way in to the family, I guess.
Right.
But at the heart of it is this attraction and deep love to the point where it's like it's kind of a bit scary how much he loves this guy. And then there's a couple of scenes that sort of show just how much he loves the guy.
Right.
But yeah, let's not talk necessarily specific about that. But yeah, it's beautifully shot, very rich colors. It reminded. It was one of those where it felt like it probably was shot on film as opposed to digital. And I just, in my brief playing with photography, film photography can just get such richer colors.
Right.
And so it felt that, like the
Yes.
blues, it was very rich and deep blues. And so there were a couple of scenes, especially in these like sort of misty English countrysides, where it was like, this is a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
So there were a couple of moments where like the stills were like photography art pieces on their own.
Yes.
Right.
But you were a bit disappointed with how it got wrapped up, eh?
Absolutely. I think that key to my thoughts on it is that you said earlier that a whole bunch of people that wouldn't watch this movie are watching this movie,
Yeah.
right? And I think that they're outraged because, or like enjoying the scandal of it because they haven't seen a lot of movies that do this, and this is a novelty for them.
Right.
So, which sounds very snobbish for me to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But like my thought was to direct people towards The Handmaiden as a first port of call by Park Chan-wook.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
He's the person who directed Old Boy.
Yeah.
And it deals with similar themes of queerness with class distinctions and also a plot, like where the sincerity of what you see is veiled by like ulterior intentions, ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a far more coherent, solid, genuine expression of this. This kind of felt like the director thought of outrageous and scandalous moments
And then built a movie out of it.
built a movie out of it. Because
Yeah.
I had that thought as soon as the third act plot twist hits,
Okay.
and you sit there and go, that wouldn't happen. No, that character would not do that.
Right.
That's not what he
I know
wants.
What you mean. I know what you
It's like a complete contradiction in line with his goal and his motivation.
Right.
And there is like, even though the cinematography and music and everything is so great, I completely agree. Like aesthetically, it's a stunning movie.
No, but it can't just be that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But there are moments like within shots that feel a bit film school. Like, sorry to be indelicate, because we were film students, so we
Yes.
understand like how we, in that like inexperience, and the director is like, I think this is the director's second film, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
And shout out to a very cool name,
Oh yeah,
the director.
I forgot it. I read it.
It's a woman. Her first name is Emerald.
Huh?
That is so rad.
That's a cool fucking name.
That's a great name. Well done, parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can call her Emma as a nickname.
Yeah. Yeah. If she
Right?
doesn't want to take on the
Emerald,
the strange name. Yeah.
Yeah, no, lovely. But like, and they look beautiful. But in terms of injecting meaning into shots, it's really hard to be like layered and surreptitious and not obvious and contrived.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So there's a shot where something terrible happens to good old Barry Keoghan, who looks into the mirror, and then there's two of those like angled mirrors on either side of the main mirror. And in one side, the sunlight's hitting the right side of his face. So on the right mirror, he's clearly seen. But on the left mirror in shadow, it's completely dark. So you see that there's this
Right.
Dichotomy.
dichotomy of
Whoa,
intention.
look at us. Jesus, we're being nerds. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of thing is great. But then also, his character's solution doesn't play out as a plan afterwards. It doesn't feel like he's come up with an idea.
Yes.
So I felt like I was understanding different things to what I was seeing
Right.
throughout.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. No, I wasn't as deep water as you. I thought it wrapped up okay.
No, but that's
it
the
wasn't
thing.
disappointing to me. I thought there was something quite cool about how it went back on previous scenes and how it wasn't what you
It went
remember.
back on previous scenes. My other thing, if you, and this happened in Leave the World Behind with Julia Roberts, right?
Yeah.
Remember that film?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Where the revelation of what's going on is played out in a montage, a flashback montage at the end of your movie. And it's like, oh, this is what really happened. Blah, blah, blah. And then you sit there and go, well, why didn't you make us realize that? Why
Yes.
didn't you tell us that? Or show us that? Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell.
Yes.
Show, don't tell.
All right.
You know,
Okay. No, I
repeat
get
it
you.
forever.
I think it was meant to just be more of a magic trick
Yes.
to the audience.
Speaking of Barry Keoghan,
Keoghan.
Kyo-jong.
whatever. I'll look it up. There's a YouTube channel called Celebrities Saying Their Own Names,
Oh, cool.
which is a great resource for this sort of thing.
Amazing.
But I just watched the first couple episodes of Masters of the Air,
Oh.
which is the new Apple TV show produced by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks.
Apple TV Plus. Hey.
Yeah. So it's kind of in the same vein as like Band of Brothers and The
Yeah.
Pacific. It's
Yes.
sort of like, if you think they're not actually connected, but it's sort of that anthology sort of thing.
Are we talking World War II?
Yeah, World War II. So like Band of Brothers is about the what are they called?
Paratroopers.
Yeah, paratroopers. That's the word I was looking for. And
Yes.
then Pacific's about the Marines. This is about the Air Force. So it's about
Okay.
bomber crews who flew those big B-17 things.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, 2 episodes in so far, and it's pretty good.
So is Keoghan in it?
Yes,
Oh, cool.
he's one of the pilots.
I must say, watching him in the Banshees of Inisherin has
Yes.
always made me like sort of perceive him and his acting as being more sort of simple and weird because of his character
Yes.
in Banshees of Inisherin. Because he played that sort of
A simple guy.
town simpleton
Right.
like so
Yes.
well. He always looks a little simpleton to me now, you know. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but you love it, eh?
It is good so far. Like, I'm not going to say it's as good as Band of Brothers yet because it's only 2 episodes in. And I maintain Band of Brothers is the best thing ever made for television.
Yeah.
I think people recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's him. Austin Butler as well as like the lead of the show.
Oh.
He's good. Am I
it's
allowed to
a
say
little
that I
bit of a
hate?
cast.
Yeah, can I say that I hate Austin Butler?
I'm sure you can, dude. We all
Because
have
he's a
actors.
good actor, but here's my problem with Austin Butler. This isn't a problem for you guys because you're in a relationship and you're also in a relationship. You're engaged.
Yeah.
The problem with Austin Butler for single people like me is women get to look at him and say that's what men can look like. He's too beautiful. What the fuck are the rest of us supposed to do?
Well, let's hope he's not that beautiful in Dune Part 2.
Oh, he looks
Yes.
hideous.
Because what is this? Freud Ratha? How do you pronounce
Yeah.
it?
Fade Routher or something
Fade
like
Ratha.
that. Yeah.
It's like it's only been words in my head. Like, I
Yes,
don't know how
exactly.
it's pronounced. But yeah, he looks kind of like
Yeah.
weird as a Harkonnen.
Weird little hairless man.
Harkonnen.
Yeah, I think if I was in Dune, I'd be a Harkonnen.
Aw.
I'd want to be an Atreides.
Yes.
But-
Yeah.
You know.
I have reached out. I want to hopefully put this out into the universe. That's why I'm going to say it on air.
Oh,
Yeah.
my word, you're committing.
No. I've reached out to the professor, the English professor. Have I told you about him?
No?
So I did English Lit at varsity, and one of the professors who is often at 44 Stanley, and we got chatting, and he gives a course on Dune.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, we should totally have you be on the show
Yeah.
ahead of Part 2 or in and around Part 2
Yes.
to speak about Dune, because like, let me tell you, I did 2 or 3 years, 3 years, I forget, of English Lit at varsity. And there is no greater joy than listening to a proper English professor speak.
Oh, totally.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not pretentious and verbose and over the top. They just use words so well. and you just realize there's certain ways that you can use words that are correct.
Mm.
But it's like when you watch, like, okay, I'm a musician, I'm a drummer, and when you watch drummers play, like, you know, YouTube tutorials, it looks easy. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're playing something super complicated, but because they're so good,
Yes.
you watch that video and you go like, I could do that. Of
Yeah.
course you can't.
Yes.
But like, it feels easy. So when these people talk, it's so inspiring.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I
that's
know.
going to happen.
That's
Nice.
my favorite thing as well.
And he's keen, and so people can look out for that.
Yeah, let's try to do that on 5th of March because
Yeah.
June is out on the 1st of March. So
Yeah.
the following episode. You
Yeah, I
compare that
wasn't
with
sure-
our review of it.
Yeah, cool. I wasn't sure whether to do it before or after, but I think after makes sense.
Yeah.
And also an important thing to mention
Yes.
is that Dune is getting its IMAX re-release this weekend.
Yes.
Yes, no, I know. Yeah.
We must go.
Now we're going.
It is
Yeah.
very much worth a rewatch of Part 1.
Yeah.
and on
Part one.
IMAX. I think
And
it's
on
very
IMAX.
important. that
I've been
people
reading the
see
book
it.
again in anticipation.
Oh,
You're
nice.
reading it again now.
Yeah.
This is what, for the
Probably
fifth or sixth-
third time, I
third
think.
time.
Yeah. I started on Thursday. I'm already like 2/3 of the way through.
Jesus
Amazing.
Christ.
Yeah.
It took me a year.
Yeah, it took me a year to read Lord of the Rings the first time.
Okay.
But it's so difficult the first time because you're going, what the fuck's a Bene Gesserit? What the fuck's Gady Pram? What's an Atreides? Like,
Yeah,
it's like you have to learn
How
all
does
these
the
things as you're
Trome
going
company
through it.
work?
Yes.
What is it?
I feel like the order in which I did it was probably perfect. I watched Part 1
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
So I at least, unfortunately, was imagining old Chalamet in my head.
Yes.
But the first movie obviously goes to about halfway through the book.
Yeah.
And then I could at least start the book, get more context, know what certain people are in this
Yes.
universe. And then it was very exciting to start getting past those points that I remember from the movie.
Yes.
And then the rest could be in my imagination, which is, as I said on the show, is exciting because that's never really happened before. I never read the Harry Potter books. I
Yeah.
never read Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, you know, so I've only ever watched the movies first. So that's very exciting. And then what was cool was as I was reading the book,
Yeah.
I was watching parts of Part 1, like step
right.
by step, and going, oh my God, they're flashing forward to that moment. And like, they're giving you hints of what's coming in
Yes.
Part 2. And like, oh, and I was like geeking out for the first time ever. And so that was exciting. But what I'd love to get to now
Yo.
is the cinema snobbiness of us. We went to go watch a film that is going to be
yeah.
in cinemas now called The Beekeeper,
Yeah.
which is a fun. We spoke about it in the last 2 episodes because we gave away some tickets. It's a fun action film with Jason Statham. And when we left it, we were like, picking it apart and giving it all our criticisms. And then we realized, like, South Africa is really going to love this movie.
Absolutely.
And it's going to do really well. And then we were like, hold on, we're snobs. And I think as long as we recognize that, we can still give our 2 cents and, have this discussion, which I think is always still great and important, especially when it comes to something like the Oscars. So I want to talk about the Oscars first for a moment, and then we'll talk about Beekeeper, because they kind of go a little bit hand in hand.
They do?
Well, to the point where there's the cinema community, and then there's cinema snobs and what they want and what they love and what they pick apart. And then there's the mainstream audience, where a film like Barbie makes over billions of dollars, but doesn't necessarily get those people nominated. I would have thought Greta Gerwig deserved to be nominated.
Absolutely.
At the very least, nominated.
Yeah.
Because I think what she did was amazing, and how they pulled it together and how they created this product that was very clearly successul.
Yes.
That's the biggest part, was just the fact that she pulled it off.
Exactly.
As the director. So she deserved. So there was a little bit of a discussion now about the fact that she wasn't nominated as a director. Margot Robbie wasn't nominated for her acting, but old Ryan Gosling was. So, like, according to the sort of very simplistic way of looking at it, feminism didn't work.
Yes.
Like, didn't win.
Yeah, in terms of the narrative as well.
Which I think is interesting. But the Oscars have often gotten that wrong to some degree, where the big successful films don't get the nod at the Oscars.
I mean, you say that, but it's still got like 8 nominations, including Best Picture.
Barbie did.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. No, but I think
It's
Greta
absolutely-
Gerwig should have been nominated as
It's
a director. I think she
absolutely a
did an
snub.
incredible
A
thing.
snub.
But yeah, as I said before, there are these members of the Academy. Those are the people who nominate. They're the people who vote. And if you are a member of the Academy, you are linked and a part of the film world. And so there's a good chance that you are a film geek. You are a
Yes.
film nerd. You are potentially rather pretentious.
Yeah.
No, but you're a snob in that sense. And so that's why these smaller, more artistic films often do better at the Oscars in terms of nominations than the ones that actually are very successful.
And it does kind of make sense, right? You have the craftsmen and the people making films,
Yeah.
recognizing why certain films in their categories deserve to be nominated. But then at the same time, you have a whole bunch of people in the Academy who don't understand the specifics around certain departments, which is why you get people getting angry about why this wasn't nominated for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah.
Or
No, that's
why
true.
that didn't win.
But-
Because it also becomes a question then if we're saying, okay, she was snubbed, if we're using this
Yes.
terminology. But then the question becomes, okay, so who do you get rid of
Oh, yeah.
in this category?
Oh,
Absolutely.
are you talking
because-
about director?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, so we have Anatomy of a Fall, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest.
Yes.
So now which one of those do you get rid of to put
Yes.
Greta Gerwig in?
And then everyone that is complaining about Barbie, have they watched Anatomy of the Fall, which
Yes.
is another woman director, you know? Or have you watched Zone of Interest?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's just sort of that inherent limitation of there are 5 nominees.
yeah.
You know, it's
No,
why a
it's
few
a great
years ago
point.
they expanded the Best Picture list to maximum of 10,
Yes.
as opposed to 5.
Yeah.
Which is because of The Dark Knight, because people lost their shit when The Dark Knight didn't get nominated.
Yes.
So then they expanded that category to 10. So do they do that with other categories? But like, at what point do you limit that? You say, okay, where's like a cutoff for like what we consider best
Yes.
director?
Sure.
You know,
There has to
No,
be a
of course.
threshold somewhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is super disappointing that Greta Gerwig wasn't nominated because if you think about the challenge of taking Barbie
yeah,
and making a film product that is fun, that is insightful, that is popular.
Can we stop calling movies products?
I mean,
Yeah.
like
I
they
know what
are
you mean.
products. They
Yeah.
are absolutely products.
But there was
But-
such it was because it was such a bold move. And you saw
Yes.
it coming. You were like, "What on earth is this movie going to be about?"
Yes.
Yeah.
And how on earth do you do this? So there was huge expectation on
Yeah.
your shoulders.
It did get nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, though, which I think is probably the reason that movie worked, was its
Absolutely,
screenplay.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it did get that nomination. So
Okay. No, and she wrote the screenplay, so
Yeah,
she could at
her
least
and-
with her husband.
Yeah, with
she could
Noah
at least
Baumbach.
still walk away with a statue.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we've said, I think the Oscars should just be nominees. Well done. Everybody has a party. I don't think we should pick winners. But the Bioscope is looking at screening Zone of Interest next.
Sick.
I haven't seen it. I've just heard it's amazing.
Yeah, same.
So I'm excited. That's going to be this week.
Well, this is the best thing about Academy season. Sorry to say this,
No,
but like,
totally. And then
it's when you get
holdovers.
excited. You get excited about, like, because also, oh my God, I've had a string of stinkers recently watching. And some of them, to my fault, have been rewatches.
Yes.
But then you just sit there, like, looking at my letterbox diary going through, and there's like 2 stars, 2.5 stars, 1 star. And I'm like, come on, I can't do this. Like, but the season is, and usually there are those in the categories where you go, I don't agree. But then you, like, overall, you see cool stories, you see compelling stories.
Yeah, you gave Poor Things 4.5,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Exactly. You watch
Yeah.
and you feel like you're watching something new for the first time in a long
It is
time.
bold and new.
Right?
Yeah. So we then watched Beekeeper, which was not something new.
No.
But I think the most important thing to say at this point is that it does its job to some degree as a real fun, silly action film. And so, although we might have our criticisms, it's still a fun movie. You know what I mean? And I think it will do well in South Africa. And that's not to say that South Africa is simple, but it's like there's a reason why Fast and the Furious and most of the Fast and the Furious films are within the top 10 of the most successful films of all time.
Yeah.
Because there is an escapism, there is a silliness, there is a like simplicity to the movie. And so Beekeeper is very similar in plot to John Wick, except instead of a dog, it's a sort of
It's an old woman.
An old woman. But basically, the whole movie is him getting some good old revenge and working his way up some pyramid scheme of evilness, getting more and more powerful as he goes up, and him just being invincible. He's part of some elite group.
And they
which
went-
people called the Beekeepers.
Yeah, they very obviously wanted to make a sequel after this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in this film, they went all the way to the top.
Yes.
Like, all the way that you could possibly... Like, the next step is the Illuminati.
Yeah.
The Beekeeper
Or like
takes on...
the head of the UN. It's like how do you even get
He's...
higher?
Sequels, Jason Statham going into BlackRock. Like,
Yes.
that's
But
what I see
but I
happening.
must say, I think revenge is one of the more underrated sort of feelings and motivators in the world. And so when you've got a real nasty character and they get killed in a very cool and inventive way, I took great joy in watching that happen. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is silly. But, you know, it reminded me, okay, so as this guy goes out and seeks revenge, no matter who is up against him, be it like whole SWAT teams of like advanced, you know, combat fighters, one man just alone with his 2 arms is able to defeat them all.
Yes.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guns, like machine guns and like criminals and SWAT teams. He can fucking do it.
Yeah.
And there's a point where that's obviously ridiculous and super silly, but then you at least take confidence in knowing like he's going to get through this.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot, and I told you guys about this, and I want to just repeat it. It reminded me of when Louis C.K., the comedian, talking about Good Will Hunting. The fact that, let's not forget, Matt Damon wrote his character, Good Will Hunting, and he wrote the screenplay where he was like, I'm super smart. Like I'm a real genius. Like, and I get chicks. But I'm a bad boy. But I'm real smart. Like, you know, for no reason. I'm just happen to be like an absolute genius.
Exactly.
And so then you realize like it's so indulgent. And of course this was the same where like a guy like Jason Statham's like, I can't just be okay. Like I've got to be the best.
Yeah.
Like elite. Like I can kill anyone. Absolutely anyone. And I can defeat whole SWAT teams. And so it was so stupid. But you know what? It was a fun night out.
Yeah.
So it'll be a really good streaming film. It's the classic like Sunday night movie experience. But yeah, It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I think my two favorite things in this film are there's a scene early on after the old woman is killed, and the daughter of this woman and Jason Statham are talking, and she says something to him along the lines of, "Oh, there's a hint of the Isles in your accent or something." I'm like, what do you mean a hint?
There's a hint of the yeah. She's like, there's a hint of the British Isles. in your
Yes, and it's
accent.
like, what are you talking about? He's 100% British.
yeah.
He's trying to do his American
Like,
accent.
you don't have to say the Isles. He's not like kind of Scottish,
Yes.
kind
Yeah.
of Welsh.
It's not vague.
Yes, but it's
He's
Jason
British.
Statham's American accent.
Yes.
My other favorite thing about this movie is, like I said, it's called The Beekeeper. And he is a beekeeper
Literally.
who was part of an organization called the Beekeepers.
Yeah.
And then he just became a regular beekeeper? Like, explain yourself. Did he have a bunch of business cards left over? Like,
Yeah, and wouldn't you want to
Why?
be as far away from bees after
Yes.
being like a beekeeper for so long? Yeah, I know it was a bit silly.
So dumb. Why does Jason Statham love honey so much?
I don't know, man.
He's obsessed with
Because he
it.
sort of understands the structure of the beehive and
Yeah, and
Whatever.
sometimes you get the rogue bees that murder the queen.
Yeah.
You know.
the Queen Slayer. That was
The
what it
Queen
was called.
Slayer, yeah.
Ay.
I
Yeah,
want to
so
mention
it's-
two things that I think are very cool to tell people about. The Creator, which I spoke about, which is that
Yes.
that great original sci-fi film. It was one of our most rented. I then watched it on the plane, so we spoke about it at the start of the year. It is now on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
which I think is
Great.
great, and I think it is a good. I'm going to put it on the good solid shelf. What are we calling it? Not the wholesome shelf. It's not. Well, it's
No,
kind of
it's-
wholesome. It's got more heart and emotion than you think it's going to have. That
Right.
was what I was so impressed by. Like, I knew the plot, I knew its aesthetic, I knew what was quite cool about it was that they shot it on these sort of more smaller budget cameras, and so it was quite revolutionary as a film, that this kind of film could be made with this kind of budget. There's a whole sort of backstory to this film, but then going into it I was like, what's the actual fucking movie going to be like? And it's really great. It's
Cool.
got a lot of heart and like a real cute kid. So I think I don't think it's super wholesome, but it's solid. So let's put the shelf is just solid. A solid watch.
Solid
right?
watch.
Like, you can't go wrong watch. If you're looking for something and you're like, I just need something that's going to be solid. It's not going to be shit
Yeah.
or challenging or weird.
Yes.
Shout out to Jenny, who listens, who's my fiance's twin sister. She watched Saltburn, and her review was, it's fucking weird. And I was like, I can't believe you watched it before me. The Creator, Disney Plus, lovely original sci-fi. I think it's really cool. And then I want to perhaps close off on this new season of Queer Eye.
On
Netflix.
Stunning. I love that you're excited about Queer Eye.
I love that I'm excited about Queer Eye too. I never thought it would be a show for me. This is what we spoke about last year. I could see how perhaps just the thought of it could put some people off. Not homophobia, but just, you don't think it's necessarily for you. Why would you watch a sort of style makeover show with 5 gay men?
Yes.
But then when you do watch it, not only do you come to love these characters, they're just incredible. Not only does it open your mind to
All the
to
different
all
people.
the aspects
yeah.
of even that community, the queer community, and all the parts to it. It's the most heartwarming show.
Yeah.
Where these people are transformed in such a way, and they're given this incredible new lease on life. It's often ends with tears and happy crying,
Yes.
and as these people sort of get confidence in themselves. And it's a broad range of people. It started, if people remember, a long time ago, where it was like, let's get straight men to be transformed by
Yes.
queer men. So it was called Queer Eye for the straight guy.
Yes.
But now it's just called Queer Eye because it's women, it's older folk, it's sometimes it's a group of kids.
Yes.
They once did like a dorm, like a res. What's it called? Like a sorority. Or
yeah.
what's the guys?
Fraternity.
Fraternity.
Right.
So sometimes it's a group, but the one we watched last night was a deaf chap who's like a sports trainer. So he trains like a football team but in a deaf school. Oh my God.
And also, it's always framed, I think the subjects are chosen often because they are people who have a profound impact in their communities in some kind of way.
Yeah, they're always people that are doing such good and have good hearts, but have just found themselves like in a rut. Their house is dirty, it's messy, or something about their life is like cluttered, and they just can't get that like step over. Because, you know, you realize this, you cycle up, you cycle down in life. You know, just as you get more motivated, you can get more proactive, and you do better, and you nicer and happier and healthier, and just as depression takes you in the opposite direction. So sometimes you just need a boost to just fix your house, fix the thing you always wanted to do, or build that, or repaint this, and then you just get that boost, and it motivates you to watch it. So Queer Eye is on Netflix. If you are only jumping in now, you got 8 seasons, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And we binged that shit. So it's so exciting that there's a new season.
Nice.
I'm so excited.
All right, lekker duties.
Sweet.
Nice.
Okay, we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, magic. Okay, bye.
TTFN.
Say it properly, man.
TTFN.
There we go.